crazy NFL offseason. I feel like every day there is some sort of move, especially for a couple months, right? In end of February and March, Tom Brady's retiring. He's unretiring. Is Aaron Rodgers leaving? Man. We had the Aaron Rodgers saga. And then where's Russell Wilson going? Oh, he's going to the Broncos? What?
A trade out of nowhere.
Exactly. So we got a lot to unpack today, Elijah. I'm excited to continue on our show. Like you said, we got a new logo on the screen. The stream just started. We got a new Campbell and Knezovic logo. Shout out to DJ Burnside, who always listens to us, who made that sick logo for us. Not just hoops anymore, sadly for us, because hoop season's over, but we're continuing the show. We're having fun.
College hoop season's over, and that's a bummer for us. But we are well-rounded sports talk individuals. We are not one-trick ponies here. And so that we're still going to be bringing you all the sports talk from usually 9 to 11 today. Of course, going to be cut 30 minutes short because the Nashville Predators are playing for a big playoff spot. Big 4 points on the line this weekend. We're definitely going to get into all of that too. And I mentioned we're going to talk about the NFL. There's a lot of juiciness, and it's been, like Michelle said, it's been a very weird NFL offseason with a lot of changes, a lot of stuff happening. And I think the newest development is that Kyler Murray might hold out. I mean, like, contracts have been crazy, right? I think the obvious element of inflation makes a lot of these contracts and all these players worth more than what they used to, like even 5 or 6 years ago. And with the markets rising too, especially at the quarterback position, I mean, Ryan Tannehill's already demanding, or he's already getting like what, $38 million on the books next year for the Titans.
Yeah, just about.
$38 million. The Titans, according to Warren Sharp, have the highest paid quarterback room in the NFL, and I don't think Logan Woodside's pulling much of that weight to make it that way. So Ryan Tannehill's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. And it's not because he's the best quarterback in the NFL, obviously, but that's just kind of what the market demands for quarterbacks. And if that number is that high, a lot of other quarterbacks are going to think they're going to be worth $38 million in a year, one of which is Kyler Murray. Now, we just saw Derek Carr get an extension, 3 years, $121 million, a massive contract, especially for a guy who got his team into the playoffs. And, of course, Kyler Murray took the Cardinals to the playoffs. And we didn't really hear a lot of noise with Derek Carr in terms of him not going to play if an extension wasn't made. It was kind of a low-key, not a news story kind of deal, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. But for this one, Kyler Murray had that one, what was like a prepared statement once the season ended about how he wants to move forward with the Cardinals. And there's all these reports about him and the franchise not necessarily being on the same page. And Tom Pelissero just recently reporting that Kyler Murray is not expected to play for the Cardinals without a new contract, meaning if he doesn't get that extension, he will be holding out by the time training camp comes around. And I find this to be a little odd because a lot of quarterbacks are in similar situations Kyler Murray is, where they are still on rookie deals. Like Joe Burrow is on a rookie deal, and he just took his team to the Super Bowl, and he's not demanding, a large contract right now. And I understand wanting to get the money that you feel like you're worth, especially since Kyler Murray had a pretty good season. He had a great first 8 or 9 weeks, and then he kind of fell off the face of the planet, and the Cardinals became one of the bigger disappointments in the NFL the back half of the season. So what his number is going to demand, we don't know. And it's something for the Cardinals and Kyler Murray to figure out. And it looks like the NFL's drama, Michelle, has now reached itself out west to Phoenix, Arizona, and where we're going to have a very interesting offseason about things that don't involve NFL draft or player acquisition.
Well, and this whole Kyler Murray thing, I mean, it just seemed very calculated as far as the social media posts. As soon as the Pro Bowl was over, he stripped everything of Cardinals from his social media accounts. And people can say, which is his social media? That doesn't matter. But he's a 24-year-old, and that does matter. He's saying something. You are taking the effort to take everything down off of your social media because you don't want to be associated with it. And I guess the problem that I have with it is that why are you doing this right now? Right when we're getting into free agency? Don't you want to work on getting free agents and work on building your team? You have so much time to sign a contract. When did this come out? end of February,
Mm-hmm.
around end of February. Like, I think about when Patrick Mahomes signed that big contract. That was in the summer, right?
Yeah.
You have, as soon as the season ends, NFL goes right into free agency and they're looking at how they can enhance their team for the next season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important. You want to see what you have money wise, you want to see what you have cap wise, and you want to see how you can manipulate it and fit it for your being like, pay me now. And also, it's only his 4th year in the league. And I know we've seen quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford and Derek Carr sign contracts worth over $40 million. And I don't know if he feels like, hey, I have leverage right now just because of the quarterback carousel at the beginning of this season when we didn't know where Aaron Rodgers was going to be, and Deshaun Watson and Russell. I almost said Russell Westbrook. I'm in basketball mode. Russell Wilson. And a part of me is like, okay, maybe he's doing it because of that. Like we've seen the wide receiver market, right? Tyreek Hill knew that if he went to open market and the Chiefs were paying him what he wanted, he knew he could get it.
Mm-hmm. He could get whatever he wanted.
Could you potentially see a team? Like, I'm trying to think of teams that still need somebody at the quarterback position. Potentially the Steelers. I mean, they have Mitch Trubisky, and we didn't get to see much with him at the Bears. And I think everybody's kind of counting him out because he was a high draft pick, and then he kind of fell flat with that organization. And then he was Josh Allen's backup in Buffalo. And it's almost like he was forgotten about, because I feel like for quarterbacks, if you are drafted in the first round and you're supposed to be a Joe Burrow, right?
Mm-hmm. You're expected to produce at the highest level when you're taking first overall.
Exactly. And the expectation for that is so incredibly high. What we saw Joe Burrow do this past year, coming off an ACL injury and taking this depleted Bengals team, essentially with no O-line, to the Super Bowl, was absolutely incredible. But it's not reality for most quarterbacks, and it's not reality for most players.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. It really isn't. And the thing, like with Kyler Murray too, is he's going to expect to get paid that. And I get it. He's had some really good games. He's had really good starts to seasons, but like they haven't been able to finish one out. Like the Cardinals the last 2 years have had great starts to these seasons and just flame out, and by either not make the playoffs or get it kicked in the first round of the playoffs, like we saw against the Rams. They've gotten to the wild card, played in Los Angeles. Now, granted, the Rams won the Super Bowl, but they weren't particularly close in that game. I mean, they were down 3 touchdowns before halftime, I believe. Like, it wasn't a close game at all. Like, and that's the one thing too, is a lot of these quarterbacks are going to be getting judged by what they do in the playoffs. And he sees Derek Carr get that contract, and Derek Carr hadn't won a playoff game for the Las Vegas Raiders. So, I get what he wants to do, because I get wanting to make the money you can right now. And according to Spotrac, his calculated market value is going to be about $43 million a year. That's a lot. And you would hate to play this year on your rookie deal, get hurt, and then miss out on that. Like, I totally get it. However, where you really hit the nail on the head is the timing. The timing is awful. This is something that probably should have been discussed, during the season or whenever you're able to prepare for it. That way they know they can allocate the money to pay you and also still reload around you. And that's what you're going to have to do. Like, the Cardinals have a lot of weapons, sure. Like DeAndre Hopkins, when he's available and he's healthy, is still a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. You have something from Zach Ertz. I don't know exactly how much you had from Zach Ertz. I don't know if he's a free agent or not, but they had him. Rondale Moore had a really good year. He's on a rookie deal. He's not going to be a superstar wide receiver, but was a fantastic slot receiver for them last year. AJ Green, not AJ Brown. That's combined, AJ Green and AJ Brown. Two AJs with colors for last names. AJ Green had a pretty solid season last year. And by that, I mean, he's able to actually stay healthy and give you something for the season. It'd be nice for them to keep building around him, because they lost their running back in Chase Edmonds too. You're going to have to be able to replenish the running back position. Like, there's other needs the Cardinals are going to have to make Kyler Murray better, to make this team better. And if they go ahead and just pay him this money now, it's going to be hard to work around all that too, especially considering they lost Chandler Jones on the defensive side. Their best defensive player is now gone and is playing for the Raiders. So the timing hurts the team a lot. Like, this is something that probably should have been established, something they probably should have figured out before April.
Well, and Elijah, I think also too, something to note, the quarterbacks that just signed, huge deals, Aaron Rodgers. How old is Aaron Rodgers? Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, and even Derek Carr is 31 years old. These guys have been in the league and they've shown you what they can do.
Very established.
Kyler Murray, yes, in his couple years in the league, he's still in his rookie contract. He's still a rookie. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong. I think as far as the number 1 overall pick, I think he's been solid for the Cardinals. But I just think demanding it right now, it just wasn't the right way to go around this. And I think that maybe if you would have waited to the summer and then decided to have this conversation, or then decided, I know we're getting close to the season, but then you have your team more set up. You can see what you look like contract-wise, cap-wise, how you could manipulate that, because the Cardinals don't want to trade Kyler Murray, right? They don't want to go out and have to draft another quarterback or have to find another quarterback. That's the last thing they want to do, right? They have a solid quarterback who's the number 1 overall pick. And I think he's going to have a great career in the NFL. So now they're in the kind of period where it's like, okay, we want to keep him as our quarterback, but we're not paying him that much right now. We need to figure out what this team is going to look like next season. But also, we don't want to get him mad and him want to leave the organization.
Right. And that's something they're going to have to figure out too. Something like they should have already taken advantage of, because you still have him on a rookie deal. You're going to have more salary cap space, be able to replace Chandler Jones, be able to put more weapons around Kyler Murray that's going to make him better, and be able to at least present that to him, say, hey, we might not be able to get you this contract this year, but we're able to add weapons around you to make you look better, make you play better, and for us to maybe, I don't know, here's a novel idea, win some games in the playoffs. Like, right? Actually be able to advance in the playoffs and be able to compete in a very competitive NFC West, maybe not as competitive now that Russell Wilson's gone and the Seahawks are doing whatever it is the Seahawks are doing, but you still have 2 other really good teams in that division. You're going to have to play twice each year. You can't do it if you're just completely allocating all that money to your quarterback and you're not able to build around him a competitive team. And there's other teams too that have made moves this offseason, including the Cleveland Browns, who we've talked about on the 6th before, Michelle, trading for Deshaun Watson. And now that they've done that basically puts another domino here in this domino effect of quarterbacking in the NFL. And this what this offseason has become. And what are they going to do with Baker Mayfield? Well, Baker Mayfield hasn't necessarily been quiet about how he feels about things. And does this mean that Baker Mayfield is on the move, and could he be on the move somewhere around here? We'll get into that and more as you're listening to Campbell and Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Bill Burr, Slight Return.
My wife always says the same thing. She's always just like, where did that come from? You just go from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds.
From his Netflix specials and F is for Family, Bill Burr, Slight Return. Friday, April 22nd, Bridgestone Arena.
First of all, I idle at 75 miles an hour, all right? So don't give me this 0 to 100. I walked into this restaurant at 75. I could hear that guy talking too loud on his cell phone from the parking lot.
Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Genesis Diamond's spectacular spring extravaganza is coming April 22nd through 24th. 3 incredible days of store-wide savings. Up to 35% off engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, wedding bands, plus special financing. Even Genesis GIA certified diamonds are marked down. Plus, top jewelry designers are flying in with all new amazing designs. If you're popping the question soon or just looking for some new sparkle, you can't miss this annual event. Save up to $10,000 on some items. It's April 22nd through 24th and only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Hey, Robby Stanley here to tell you this baseball season you can turn K's into cash and big hits into big wins with FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a risk-free first bet up to $1,000. All you got to do is sign up, place your first bet, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back in site credit if you don't win. I've got my eye on the Blue Jays this year as well. Vlad Guerrero Jr., he is an absolute stud, and he's going to be hitting the long ball early and often. But you take it any way you want to take it. Just sign up, place your first bet, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back in site credit if you don't win. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Sign up using promo code ROB to get started with your risk-free bet up to $1,000. Once again, that promo code is ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
The Ainsworth Nashville has been bringing a sophisticated twist to the classic All-American Sports Bar, restaurant, and private event experience in Midtown since 2018. Our multi-purpose venue consists of a full-scale restaurant, bar and lounge, and event space. Come for the wings, stay for our happy hour, and visit us for brunch on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We've got the good times to keep you singing all night long. The Ainsworth Nashville. Burgers, cocktails, sports.
Visit the Ainsworth at 206 21st Avenue South in Nashville or online at theainsworth.com.
This is Taylor Irwin, a junior at St. Andrews Sewanee, a boarding and day school in Sewanee, Tennessee, adjacent to the University of the South. At SAS, we prepare for the challenges and joys of college and life by taking increasing responsibility for our own learning. Learn more about admission at sasweb.org.
Play ball! Base in the corner. Terang is in. Almonte will score. Triple by Singleton.
The Nashville Sounds continue their road trip against the Gwinnett Stripers.
Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win.
Coverage begins at 4:50 on your home for the Sounds. ESPN 94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Back on Campbell and Knezovic here at ESPN 102.5. The Game, the quarterback carousel in the NFL does not stop. It hasn't stopped. We talked about Kyler Murray possibly being on the move, possibly because he's possibly holding out. That's still a whole long drawn saga. We mentioned the Deshaun Watson situation where the Cleveland Browns figured we don't want to pay Baker Mayfield $31.8 million per year, but we're going to be willing to pay the highest guaranteed contract to someone who has 22 pending civil lawsuits regarding sexual assault. But he's really, really good at football, so they're willing to do that. So now that leaves us with what's going to happen with Baker Mayfield. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Michelle Knezovic. Michelle, Baker Mayfield is kind of in limbo. He is in the NFL's version of purgatory, where you know he's not going to be a Cleveland Brown because they have Deshaun Watson now. They don't necessarily need Baker Mayfield. He was going to require another contract as well because his rookie deal is running out. And now they're going to have to ship him off somewhere. And they didn't want to pay the $31.8 million. That would have been in his estimated market value. And now he doesn't know where he's going. He said on a podcast earlier this week too, that he has no idea where he's going, that he was really surprised by how the Browns treated him this offseason, where they told him that maybe they're not looking in other directions at quarterback and he was their guy, and then turn around and do exactly the opposite and trade for Deshaun Watson. So Michelle, you've been really observant about how Baker Mayfield has handled himself during all of this. And we talked about the Deshaun Watson situation before and how they're going to mortgage the future on him and hope the PR nightmare kind of goes away and that they're able to win them ball games, and they're going to have to get rid of Baker Mayfield. So you look at this whole situation from a larger scope. What are your initial thoughts on where Baker Mayfield might go and kind of how he's handled this situation? Because unlike Ryan Tannehill or other quarterbacks or Derek Carr, he has definitely been very vocal about how it's all unfolded.
Yeah, what is with this, like, our generation? Just everybody something's an issue. We're just going to put it right on Twitter. We're just going to
make it very public.
Listen, and when it gets out there, it never goes away. Mm-hmm. I think if we just take a step back and we just think about the Cleveland Browns coming into last season, right? They were the dark horse. We looked at that team. It was stacked. Mm-hmm. Let's remember, they had OBJ on that team. And let's remember what the first drama saga was. Do you remember when there was a whole thing and OBJ was like, Baker's not throwing to me, I'm open, yada, yada. And there was all that stuff.
His dad made that whole highlight compilation thing of where he's just missing Odell Beckham on open passes.
And yeah, his dad essentially did a little film study and put it on Instagram or Twitter or something and broke down the plays of where OBJ was open and where Baker wasn't throwing it to him. And I think, at least personally, when I saw that at the beginning of the season, I was like, oh my gosh, OBJ, he's being so dramatic. His dad, like, what are they doing? But now I think, well, yeah, right. I'd be like, Dad, what are you doing?
Dad, stop. Put TikTok down. Put the phone down, please.
Exactly. But now I'm looking back at it, like maybe there was something going on just because of the information and what we've seen from Baker postseason. And I mean, everybody was like, oh, OBJ is not the same anymore, right? He's coming off an injury. That's why Baker's not throwing it to him. Like, right? Like OBJ is not the old OBJ. But now watching OBJ perform with the Rams and in that Super Bowl run.
Incredible playoff run. Yeah.
Was it so much OBJ, or maybe there was maybe that could have started, right? So the Cleveland Browns see that, and then they see the way OBJ, this is obviously all speculation, but just from an outsider looking in, right? And the information that we have out there, the Cleveland Browns, maybe they weren't actively looking for another quarterback just because of the quarterback market right now, right? Like nobody knew it was going to happen with Deshaun Watson, tongue twister, Deshaun Watson. But unfortunately, once the criminal charge, he wasn't charged and essentially was able to move. Once there was more information on this whole situation, NFL teams jumped to that because unfortunately in this league, winning is the number one priority. And the Cleveland Browns went on to sign Deshaun Watson to this insane deal when they don't even know what his suspension is going to be like from the league. Because let's remember with Ben Roethlisberger a couple years ago with the Steelers, his suspension was, I think, 6 games, 4 or 6 games.
It was 6, and then they reduced it to 4 after an appeal.
Yeah. So let's parallel the situations. I know they're different situations, but say the league decides to give a punishment of pretty much equivalent to that, right?
Yeah, which they more than likely will.
Okay, so that's either 4 or 6 games. If you're at 6 games, that's essentially half the season, or almost half the season.
I mean, you can find yourself in being 1-5 or 2-4, and in that division, you're in 3rd or 4th place, and you maybe have like a 3 or 4 game deficit already to try to climb out of. And then when he does come back, there's no guarantee that they're going to be that good off the bat because this stuff kind of takes some time to acclimate, your quarterback and receivers. So you're right. I mean, they could be in a serious hole once the suspension's served.
Well, and let's also not forget that Deshaun Watson I know he is a phenomenal quarterback from what we have seen college and his NFL career, but he also hasn't played football for more than a year. I mean, I don't know what he's doing on his own or if he's practicing, but it was very apparent that during practices and camps, he was essentially not involved. I remember a video at the beginning of the season or training camp, and people were just videoing him because he was in the facility, and he essentially was like, "Why are you videoing me? I'm just walking."
Yeah, it's the same stuff every day. And we'd go there, work out by himself, and then leave.
Okay, so for the Cleveland Browns, you sign him to this huge deal, right? We don't even know what the suspension is going to be. Hasn't played in an NFL game in over a year by the time they get to the start of the season. Oh, and you're trying to avoid a Baker Mayfield little drama PR nightmare? Well, you just signed on to another huge PR nightmare that is unfolding in front of us.
A storm. I mean, and like if you're the Browns and you look at the situation too, because you're going to have to pay Baker Mayfield eventually. I mean, his rookie contract was going to expire. So you're going to be in a position to where you either have to pay him $31.5 million annually, or you're going to have to play out this season and then mutually agree to part ways afterwards, kind of like a Titans Mariota thing where it's like, you have one more year on this deal. You're more than likely not going to be coming back next year. Make the best of it. And if you're the Browns, like just 2 years ago, they were 11-5 with Baker Mayfield as a starter. They won a playoff game for the first time, I think, since they got back to Cleveland after their little hiatus from the NFL. It was a height that this franchise hasn't seen in a long, long time for a suffering fan base. And they thought they had their guy. It's a team and a franchise notorious for having 1,000 different quarterbacks in like a 20-year stretch. You know, I think it was Joe Thomas who would joke that there was one game, like I think this is like in 2013 or 14, where he goes in the huddle and there's another quarterback because the starter got hurt, and he introduced himself to the quarterback in the huddle in the middle of a game. Like that's where the Cleveland Browns have been as a franchise when it comes to the quarterback position. And they have to decide after this year, before the Watson trade, obviously, whether or not you keep the only consistent quarterback you have had for 2 decades, or you try to move on. Well, now they've already made that decision, and now they're going to have to move on from Baker Mayfield, but no one's going to take $31 million or take him at the price he's at right now, which isn't $31 million. But if he's a starting quarterback, his average market value, because of the numbers he's put up in the last 3 or 4 years compared to quarterbacks like Ryan Tannehill, who are very comparable. And if Ryan Tannehill got $38 million, Baker Mayfield's going to get something in the 30s on an annual basis. It's tough. So the Browns are going to have to eat a lot of the salary that he has right now if they're going to trade him.
So they're going to have to eat a lot of that. Then they already signed on to this huge contract with Deshaun Watson with a big question mark on what he's going to be able to do / how much he's even going to be able to get on the field. I think about, at least for the Titans here, Mike Vrabel, we looked at Tennessee this year with just so many injuries and not even being able to get guys on the field. And one of his main messages always was, we need guys available. And in the NFL, with so many players getting injured, you just sign this quarterback to this huge contract. And now your former starting quarterback is pissed because he thought he was solid and locked down with you all. And then you go ahead and get Deshaun Watson. And now you're either going to have to eat the money. I mean, we talk about the fall off between a QB1 and a QB2 in the NFL. And it's a huge drop off.
Yeah. Oh, it's a massive drop off for some. For a lot of them, there's a big drop off. And where Baker Mayfield's value isn't as a starting quarterback in this league right now, because, I mean, is Seattle going to trade for him? They got Drew Lock in that trade. And I think if they're serious themselves, Steelers and even then with the Browns, give them to somebody in the division.
No,
the cap hit's going to be $18.8 million for this season. I mean, and there's not a lot of teams that are going to be willing to take that on. They're going to have to eat a lot of that in a trade and maybe give up and include a 6th-round pick. Like, the Browns are in a weird position, but there's a team in the conference, a team in our city, who might need to think about trading a 6th-rounder in cap relief in exchange for maybe where Baker Mayfield is valued most, as a backup. We'll get into that on the other side as you're listening to Campbell and Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Pro Golf is back in Middle Tennessee. Mark your calendars for the Simmons Bank Open, May 5th through 8th. You can see the next wave of PGA Tour stars. Be sure to visit the Sand Trap at the 14th hole and check out great local food trucks, including Hattie B's, Hogwood Barbecue, Dream Burger, Padrino Pops, cocktails from Jack Daniels, and try the Sand Trap Cream Ale from New Heights Brewing Company. Purchase your tickets now at SimmonsBankOpen.com.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Introducing the first Nashville location of Mayweather Boxing and Fitness in Midtown. Perfect for all fitness levels. Join a community that will help every person unleash their inner champ with fun, effective, and empowering group boxing circuit workouts. Become a founding member today. Stop by the brand new studio in Midtown at 2041 Broadway, Suite C, or call 629-206-9092 to join the family exclusive. Pre-opening rates now available. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, the gold standard in boxing fitness.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing, towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
This week's Nashville's best deal is 312 Pizza Company, serving the best pizza in town, as well as Chicago-style eats like Chicago dogs, Italian beef sandwiches, and more. It's also a great spot to grab a beer and watch your favorite team on the big screen. 312 Pizza Company, 371 Monroe Street in Germantown. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals and get half off a $30 gift card. It's 312 Pizza Company, while supplies last.
Hey, this is Matt Duchesne, and this is Smashville.
Running down the left side with Duchesne. Duchesne scores! Matt Duchesne with the overtime winner.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Sabotaging going on in the NFL, and one thing that has been sabotaged is the Browns' relationship with Baker Mayfield. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Michelle Knezovic. It's Campbell Knezovic here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, and we have mentioned Baker Mayfield's saga with the Cleveland Browns and how that's going to probably come to an end here this offseason because they have a new quarterback. They're not going to pay Baker Mayfield what the market's going to demand Baker Mayfield get paid, and more than likely, because of a lot of the quarterback movement we've seen in the offseason already, we will see Mayfield as a backup quarterback. And the team in town, the Tennessee Titans, might need to think about acquiring Baker Mayfield as a Tennessee Titan backup. Now, Michelle, I'm sure people are hearing this right now and thinking that that's absurd because Baker Mayfield did not have a fantastic year last year. In terms of interception percentage or interceptions per pass, he had a second to worst year, that worst year being his second season where he threw 21 picks. Baker Mayfield has had an up and down NFL career. Last year, like we said, not very good. He had the drama with Odell Beckham Jr. They didn't make the playoffs. The team was one of the more disappointing teams in all of the NFL, and that's 1 year removed from being 11-5 and winning a playoff game for the first time since the team came back to Cleveland. And here's what I like to like in the situation too. And you tell me if you think I'm far off base, but it feels kind of like Ryan Tannehill's original situation with the Miami Dolphins. Like he got them to a playoff appearance, except they got beat in their playoff appearance because Ryan Tannehill didn't get to play because they injured at the end of that year. But Ryan Tannehill had some success in Miami. There were a lot of ups and downs when he was in Miami, and the Titans traded for him to push Marcus Mariota and to be a reliable backup. Mariota also was dealing with a lot of injury problems and wasn't 100% for a lot of the last 2 years in which he was a Tennessee Titan. So they got Ryan Tannehill in a trade basically as insurance, so much so that the Dolphins paid the Titans to take Ryan Tannehill, and obviously the rest is history. So knowing what we know about that situation, is the Baker Mayfield situation similar in your eyes? And do you think that would help Ryan Tannehill if they were able to bring in Baker Mayfield as a backup? Because it's an interesting dynamic there.
I definitely think there are some parallels to the two situations. I think, though, I just think from what we've seen from the Titans, they're not over, or they're not done with Ryan Tannehill. And I think if anything, as far as a backup, I just don't know if they would spend the money on Baker because he's still going to be expensive for a backup quarterback. And is it worth paying somebody that much who has arguably the same stats as Ryan Tannehill and who's pretty much performed at around the same level as him? Would you rather, look into the draft and draft somebody to, bet on your future? And also, I don't know if Baker Mayfield would accept being a backup quarterback in this league. I feel like he might get in a situation where he doesn't have a starting job, which is crazy to think. But I also don't think he's going to, first off, he's not going to want to be Deshaun Watson's backup quarterback, even though the Browns don't even know how many games Deshaun Watson's going to play.
Exactly.
And I just couldn't see him accepting a backup job. And I mean, maybe he would take a backup job and then think that he could earn that starting spot. But fortunately, it's a little bit harder than that in the NFL, especially when you have Ryan Tannehill who has such good chemistry with an A.J. Brown, with a Derrick Henry. You know, now they got Robert Woods in there. Even Nick Westbrook-Akina, some of the other wide receivers down on the totem pole, Chester Rogers, who performed for the Titans this year. I also don't know how well Mike Vrabel would like the Baker Mayfield drama.
Because that probably doesn't mesh well with what they have in the locker room right now. Like, this is a very culture-oriented, like the most overused word in sports by coaches, players, and sports talk media, culture. Like, I get it. It's become a cliche, but like, this is a very culture-oriented kind of team. And they abide by the Patriot way, or whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. And Baker Mayfield doesn't necessarily fit the mold of what the Patriot way is. Like, could you imagine Bill Belichick?
Patriot way. He was actually hanging out with Tim Corbin yesterday. Bill Belichick
was?
Yeah.
Wow. I could see them getting along.
Yeah, he was.
I could. Okay.
Very random.
Confirm. Wow. Okay.
He was also
maybe he's hanging out with Vrabel today.
He was also rocking the Vandy hat. On the side. It had the Vandy logo on the side, and he had something else, and he had on like a sweet little puffy vest, trying to look like he's in his mid-30s. So it was really awesome to see him out there at the Hawk.
Well, it's very awesome to see him styling it up, because we've seen what he wears for Patriot games and press conferences.
Him and Robert Kraft are like the two snazziest dressers in the NFL, like front office roles, I guess.
Well, listen, this is the start of the conspiracy theory. So now he could be with the Tennessee Titans right now, right? You're going to visit Tim Corbin. Now he's going to go hang out with Vrabel.
He's going to be the new defensive coordinator. There it is. There we go. We're going to start the conspiracy theory right now.
He bought a house. Maybe he's buying a house in Nashville. We just don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? And then they'll eventually get Aaron Rodgers, and then they're just going to build a super team here in Nashville with all the people that live here. They'll steal George Kittle from that contract he's got from San Francisco because he lives in Nashville. But all joking aside, could you imagine Baker Mayfield and Mike Vrabel in the same locker room? It's like, I don't know Baker Mayfield personally, but his persona is very public. It is very outgoing. It is very outspoken. And that is the polar opposite of what Ryan Tannehill is. It's the polar opposite of what Marcus Mariota was when they were here. I mean, they towed the company line, and players on that team tend to do so. It's not like the Titans player or press conferences are usually that animated, and every single one Baker Mayfield is in is animated.
Well, it's funny too, because it's no surprise that Mike Vrabel is not really on social media, but
other than to roast Will Compton.
Well, and that was exactly my point, yep. Right? He roasts them and makes fun of them for their bussing with the boys and all that stuff. But could you imagine like what he says maybe about Baker's tweets? He's probably like, oh my God, like,
because he's going to get asked about it, and he's going to hate getting asked about it. Like, how many press conferences would he walk out of because of the Baker Mayfield questions he would get?
Got to coach better, got to play better.
Coach better, got to play better.
Got to tweet better.
Baker, you got to tweet better. We got to back up better.
Social media presence got to be up through the roof, guys.
He is, I will say, he's funny and pretty witty on Twitter.
He is, yeah.
His small tweets, like quantity wise, he only has a few of them. Very, very funny.
That's efficiency. He doesn't need a lot of tweets. He doesn't need a volume tweet to be able to get his point across and to be funny.
Definitely
he's a funny guy.
Quality over quantity kind of guy.
Oh yeah,
it is. Yeah, he definitely is. And man, like the dynamic between him and Baker Mayfield, to me, just imagining what that would be like is so funny. Like, now, does this happen? No, because Michelle made a good point. Like, his cap is going to be $18 million. So if there were a theoretical trade in place here, the Browns would have to eat almost all of that. I mean, we're talking like 80% of that. Like the Titans may be willing to absorb $4 million of that. Which means the Browns would have to basically just spend $14 million to get rid of Baker Mayfield. Oh, and then also maybe receive a 6th-round pick. And that would be if you're in the 11th hour of the NFL draft and there's no market for him. Like the teams I can think of at the top of my head that might be suitors, like Michelle mentioned Pittsburgh, but it for some reason would be hard to imagine the Steelers
picking him and
acquiring him, or the Browns giving him to somebody that's in the division.
Yeah.
The Seahawks maybe, but from what I've heard, like they're willing to play Drew Lock for the year. They traded to get Drew Lock in that Russell Wilson trade to be able to at least be a stopgap player for a year. It looks like that's probably going to be the case. And maybe Atlanta, I know the Falcons signed Marcus Mariota, but no matter, I don't care if he's the best leader A.J. Brown ever had. I don't know if you're comfortable with him being your starting quarterback for an entire season. I think I would definitely prefer to have Baker Mayfield throwing to Kyle Pitts as opposed to Marcus Mariota, but who knows if Atlanta's willing to give up anything too. I think that's like Atlanta might be the only place where he could be a starter right now.
Carolina, Panthers.
Carolina, maybe. But
I was kind of thinking
on
that
the same team.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely seemed like the team that is really set on drafting a quarterback, but I mean,
yeah,
maybe. I'm just thinking of teams that really don't have. I mean, Cam Newton that's a whole nother level of drama on that front.
What about Miami? Like, are they done?
Tua.
I mean, I know they have Tua,
backup option of Tua.
But yeah, but like get them in, compete at a starting job, kind of get a little fire underneath both of them, maybe. I don't know. I'm throwing out possible scenarios, trying to think of people that need quarterbacks.
Well, no,
Miami's been one since Dan's left, so.
I actually kind of like that idea, Jared, especially with all the weapons that Miami has been able to get. This is going to be a true testament to, I mean, I think Tua is probably one of the best college quarterbacks I've personally seen. I think he was absolutely incredible, but we have virtually seen nothing from him. I don't want to say nothing because that's not fair, but we haven't seen a lot from him in the league. And now with all of these weapons, I think it's going to be a true testament to see what he can do in this league.
It's been very up and down for Tua too, because like there are times he looks underwhelming. Like he doesn't look like the same quarterback. There's not the same zip on the ball that he had when he was at Alabama. And even though like he's got some weapons that like there's been some moments where he has played well this season, but it just doesn't help him too that he was in the same draft class as Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, and those guys are going to be the best quarterbacks in the league whenever Tom Brady really retires for good, or when Aaron Rodgers
That's
really
never
retires
happening.
for good.
I've decided it's probably never happening.
I'm so over that guy. And speaking of like the Dolphins too, there was drama there, and like we'll touch on that as well as discuss like where's Baker Mayfield's role in the NFL. Like we talked about the Titans maybe using him as a quarterback to bring in as a backup on maybe a cheap deal to push Ryan Tannehill. We thought the same thing could happen in Miami. Jared made a good point about maybe him going to Miami could push Tua Tagovailoa to heights that he hasn't gotten to in his NFL career because of that kind of high-level competition. We'll get into that and more on the other side as you listen to Campbell and Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Spring into savings at Electronic Express. Get up to 40% off the latest 4K TVs from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. That's not all. Get huge savings in every department like computers and gaming, smart home, housewares, mattresses, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online with free express delivery on most items. Shop locally owned and family operated at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Genesis Diamond's most anticipated event of the year is coming next weekend, April 22nd through 24th. Huge store-wide savings, plus thousands of new, unique designs from the biggest names in jewelry. All new collections, 2 years in the making, from names like Tacori, Verragio, and more. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, many never seen before, and all specially priced for this 3-day event. Save up to 35%, zero interest financing. Bring your old jewelry and trade up. April 22nd through 24th, only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters, so make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Hey, Robby Stanley here to tell you this baseball season you can turn K's into cash and big hits into big wins with FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a risk-free first bet up to $1,000. All you got to do is sign up, place your first bet, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back in site credit if you don't win. I've got my eye on the Blue Jays this year as well. Vlad Guerrero Jr., he is an absolute stud, and he's going to be hitting the long ball early and often. But you take it any way you want to take it. Just sign up, place your first bet, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back in site credit if you don't win. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Sign up using promo code ROB to get started with your risk-free bet up to $1,000. Once again, that promo code is ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Sunday night.
Eiston, Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Kyle Larson.
The Bristol Dirt Race is underway.
The stars of the NASCAR Cup Series will be slinging dirt at Bristol on Easter night for the Food City Dirt Race. Coverage begins at 5
on ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
To trade for Baker or not to trade for Baker? That is the question. To be your starting quarterback or to be your backup? I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Michelle Knezovic. It's Campbell Knezovic, ESPN 102.5 The Game, and we are talking about Baker Mayfield's options in the NFL. And I know we have some messages to get to on our personal text lines, as always, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Michelle, I know you got something for us here.
Yes, I do. My stepdad, who is actually, he is our football coach at my high school. Shout out Shenandoah High School.
Yes, shout out.
He just texted in on my personal text line, and he said that Seattle or sit the bench for Baker.
Seattle or sit the bench. See, like we mentioned Seattle because, like, would you rather have Baker Mayfield than Drew Lock? I think probably. I mean, I think Drew Lock, there's still, I guess, some potential, and he's still really young, but I don't think the Seahawks would be keen on making the effort to trade for him because they're not like in win now mode. Like they let Bobby Wagner walk. They traded Russell Wilson. Who knows what they do?
They're
with
in
their
rebuild mode
right now. Yeah. Like when you trade the starting quarterback that won you a Super Bowl. Yeah. You're that's kind of you hitting the reset button on the franchise. And I don't know
how much longer is Pete Carroll going to coach?
It can't be much longer because the guy's like, what, 80? Like he's one of the oldest coaches in the NFL. The guy's ancient. Like he's not going to be around in the NFL very long. Like they're going to have to make a coaching change too. And they're going to have to do it eventually, especially if they're really bad this year. I think that might happen this year because if you're departing from your quarterback and you want to play like the long-term game, like Pete Carroll's not going to be coaching the team in 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Because I look up his age right now. I said he's almost 80. I was actually even surprised to find out how old he was like the last time I looked, because he's been coaching football for forever.
Do you think this is like when we found out how old Jay Wright was? When I found out Jay Wright was 60 and I was like, what?
Well, Pete Carroll's 70. So I actually thought he was closer to 80, but like he's 70 years old. Like who knows, even though he's in fantastic shape, Pete Carroll looks like he could still run a marathon to this day. Not knocking the hustle. But I don't think he's going to be coaching in the NFL for a whole lot longer. Like if I'm building a franchise and I want to be able to build something long-term, I don't know if I necessarily want to keep Pete Carroll around if I'm not keeping Russell Wilson around. So the Seahawks are in a really weird spot, but the back end of that text for me is where I'm at, like with Baker Mayfield, like ride the bench, learn a little bit because he could benefit from it. Like Mitchell Trubisky benefited from it. Mitch Trubisky took a cheap deal to be the backup quarterback in Buffalo, and Buffalo had an insurance of a capable quarterback if Josh Allen were to ever have gone down last season. Like if the worst case scenario for the Bills happens and Josh Allen's hurt and has to miss extended amount of time, like Mitch Trubisky can somewhat keep them afloat because they have great weapons around him and a phenomenal defense. Like that was one of the best in the league last season. So I like that's where he's going to have to be. That's the reason he is most useful. I don't find him as being most useful as a starting quarterback in the NFL in 2022, which is where, you know, the destinations of Miami and Tennessee are interesting because he can push the starter. And if the starter ever goes down, you have a capable quarterback at the helm.
Well, and for Miami too, Tua's still on his rookie contract. So Miami has the benefit of being able to pay Baker a little bit more. If they're willing to get him, they have the opportunity to pay him a little bit more, which would make him happy, first of all. And then Miami has options. You know what I kind of think of? Even though I think Baker is more talented than Jacoby Brissett, but I look at him as the backup in Indianapolis. And then the whole Andrew Luck situation happened. He got a full year of starting for Indy. And then he moves down to Miami. Tua's hurt for most of the season. He gets a lot of opportunity now there. And now I'm thinking, where is he now? Is he in Philadelphia?
Brissett?
Yeah. Or is he still in Miami?
Oh man, I forgot. Yeah. There's been so much movement.
Oh, you know what? Cleveland Browns. That's actually really funny.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So Baker's not going to be the backup because they signed Jacoby Brissett. And Jacoby Brissett is going to be able to do this for as long as he wants. He's going to be like almost like a Chase Daniel, like a more competent Chase Daniel, and just get to go bounce around team to team and hold the clipboard and play if he needs to. Like it's not a bad gig whatsoever. But yeah, I think that's where Baker Mayfield is right now. And who knows, like maybe there is a rehabilitation process with him. He can go somewhere and get healthy for a year, because what was the one thing that happened this year? Like he hurt his shoulder. Like he played with a bum shoulder for most of the season. He can heal up. He can play if he has to play on with the remainder of his deal, which only has 1 year left, and then become a free agent and then find a suitor, you know, which teams are always looking for quarterbacks in the NFL. Everyone wants to either upgrade their quarterback, get insurance on one. Like it's the most valuable position in the sport. I don't see him starting this season. And I think the only place to is Atlanta, but that's tough. Like that, it's a tough position for him to be in. But like, if you're him, you can still prove yourself. Like you go to a place like Tennessee or Miami and Tua goes down, which is prone to happen because Tua's missed some time. He did have
he's fragile.
We mentioned his injury at Alabama. Like it was a serious injury. Like not a lot of players bounce back from that. I mean, that essentially ended Bo Jackson's career, was his hip injury. And we've noticed Tua maybe not looking the same, still being productive, but not looking the same. But there's a chance he can still get on the field somewhere, even as a backup, and then prove his worth there.
Well, and it's interesting you mentioned that on Tua. I remember sitting and watching that draft with my stepdad, Dan, the one whose text I just read. And I remember him saying to me, Miami shouldn't have picked Tua. He's too fragile. And look what we've seen in the couple years, right? He had that major injury that you just touched on in college, which, I mean, like you said, it's a career-ending injury.
For a lot of players.
And he's lucky that he's playing in this era where, you know, just the advancement in medicine and the ability, like the state-of-the-art physical therapy, trainers, and just everything to get him back to health. And then we see him get injured again. And who knows what his career is going to be like, because it's been a really big roller coaster throughout college. But when we have seen him perform, we have seen those glimpses of just amazing play. I think as far as talent wise, he's one of the most talented guys out there, at least at the college level he was. And we're just looking for it to translate into the NFL. But I think, you know, if they were able to if Miami was willing to get Baker down there as far as a backup, right? Get a little competitive action between the two guys. But I don't even know what their cap space looks like right now. I mean, they just signed Tyreek Hill for an insane amount of money.
Yeah, like an insane amount of money, but like also there's a whole bunch of weapons they could. It'd be the same situation with the Titans essentially. Like the Browns would have to eat like $14 million of that, and maybe the Dolphins spend $4 million on keeping Baker there for a year, maybe $2 or $3 million, something similar like what they did to the Titans, and basically just accept that it's not going to be.
Well, it's like the Colts; they were willing to
get rid of him.
It was like the Colts; they were willing to eat the Carson Wentz money, but I mean, Washington goes ahead and signs him. I mean, if you're the Colts, you got to be looking at that situation like, oh, this is great. We actually got some picks for him. We got him somewhere. I mean, the Colts were like very much willing to eat that. And I mean, as far as the Titans and looking at the AFC South, Chris Ballard is finally spending that money, and they've got the most cap space, right? They've got a lot of money to spend, and we've seen them doing that in the last couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Definitely big spenders here this offseason, and a lot of talk about the offseason, but there's also a big game here in town today. Of course, Campbell and Knezovic will be taking you up to Predators and Blackhawks pregame coverage at 10:30, a crucial game for the Nashville Predators, a big weekend here today, or a big day today, celebrating some of the best in the business, in the media business, and a nice reuniting of two of the best voices that helped start the Nashville Predators franchise. We'll talk about that on the other side. But Michelle, I know you have a word about our friends from Seltzerland.
Yes, Elijah. Seltzerland is turning Nashville into hard seltzer's paradise, my favorite, on Saturday, April 30th at the end of this month at Riverside Golf Links. You can enjoy a one-of-a-kind immersive experience as you spend the day tasting over 100 unique hard seltzers, indulge in mouth-watering munchies, lots of seltzer swag. We're going to bust out the Instagram for that. You can take a lot of Instagram pictures, post them, tag Seltzerland, tag us, 1025 The Game. Seltzerland has rounded up the best hard seltzer brands in the land for one epic day dedicated to the bubbly brew everyone can't get enough of. You don't want to miss Seltzerland 2022, April 30th at Riverside Golf Links. Join me, Michelle Knezovic of Robby and Rexrode and Campbell and Knezovic on Seltzerland, April 30th, where we'll be turning it into a hard seltzer paradise. You're going to be able to enjoy, like I said, over 100 different unique hard seltzers. You're not going to want to miss this. Make sure you are listening to ESPN 1025 The Game all month long for your chance to win tickets to Seltzerland on April 30th at Riverside Golf Links.
Bert Kreischer.
I have two little girls. Little girls are delicate. You can't just raise it like a boy. A boy you put in the backyard like a dog, it raises itself.
Bert Kreischer, live at the Opry House, April 21st.
Well, I'm at the zoo with my two daughters, right? This blind lady comes walking through the zoo. First, I'm like, where does she think she's at? Like, seriously, like, what, does she enjoy the smell of animal poo and the cries of desperation? Like, help, kill me! I'm a monkey on concrete, I want to die!
Don't miss Bert Kreischer. Tickets on sale now at Opry.com.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
From curriculum-based literacy programs and sport leagues to college tours and workforce readiness tracks, Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provide a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. You can support local youth and their great futures by donating at bgcmt.org.
Trying to find a new home right now is next to impossible. Very little inventory, prices are crazy high, rates are moving up. Here's a better idea. Let my friends at Loan Pronto refinance your current home, turn all that equity you have into cash, and totally transform your house. A new kitchen, new bathroom, a pool. Think about it. Your home value is up. Instead of wasting all that on an overpriced new house, convert that equity into cash for a home makeover. One local couple did it and got $200,000 out. They added new hardwoods, an outdoor living space, a swimming pool with spa and all new cabinets and appliances, plus a home office. Now they have their dream home, and they never had to move. Call Loan Pronto. Ask about their home improvement refi. Give your home a total makeover and do it now. You can even skip your next house payment in the process. Call now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval.
Floyd Mayweather launched Mayweather Boxing and Fitness when he officially retired as a 50-0 champion. Introducing the first Mayweather Boxing and Fitness location in Nashville. Perfect for all fitness levels. Join a community that will help every person unleash their inner champ. Become a founding member today. Stop by the studio at 2041 Broadway, Suite C, or call 629-206-9092 to join the family exclusive. Pre-opening rates now available. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, the gold standard in boxing fitness.
The Ainsworth Nashville has been bringing a sophisticated twist to the classic All-American Sports Bar, restaurant, and private event experience in Midtown since 2018. Our multi-purpose venue consists of a full-scale restaurant, bar and lounge, and event space. Come for the wings, stay for our happy hour, and visit us for brunch on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We've got the good times to keep you singing all night long. The Ainsworth Nashville. Burgers, cocktails, sports.
Visit the Ainsworth at 206 21st Avenue South in Nashville or online at theainsworth.com. You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County,
ESPN
102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell media station.
Last 30 minutes here on Campbell and Knezovic, ESPN 102.5 The Game, getting you ready for the pregame show. Darren McFarland and Justin Bradford will have you kicking things off at the pregame show here at the bottom of the hour. But right now, I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Michelle Knezovic, and we'll break down this game too. Big one between the Predators and the Blackhawks, and most importantly, Michelle, Pete Weber and Terry Crisp. It's Terry Crisp weekend. We're celebrating Terry Crisp in his last season doing TV work with the Nashville Predators, and he will be in the booth with Pete Weber, a reuniting of the two best voices in this franchise's history. If you don't listen to the radio broadcast often, I highly suggest you do so tonight. Tonight is the night to do so, to be able to hear those two at it again.
Elijah, I've only been in Nashville just under a year, and I think Terry Crisp is probably one of my favorite people I've met here, but I've actually never met him in person yet. It's just over the phone because he comes on Robby and Rexrode every Friday at 8:30. You're not going to want to miss that segment. Mm-hmm. He is kindest. Every time I call him on Friday, good morning, Michelle. You got your coffee?
He brings the passion.
Oh, he brings so much joy. And I've just heard so many stories from people who work at our station, callers, texters who text in, just saying what Pete Weber and Terry Crisp have meant to not only Nashville, but the game of hockey and bringing an NHL team to Nashville. We had a caller in on Friday. He was just like, can I call in quick? I just want to say something about Pete and Terry, and telling them how when the Predators came to Nashville, this was not an NHL city. I mean, I don't even think SEC schools don't even have hockey teams. They're all club, right? Yeah. Coming from the Northeast, hockey's huge up there, whether it be in high school and college, and it's very well known. But the caller basically said, like, when the Predators came to Nashville, it was so foreign to everyone. And Pete and Terry just did such an amazing job of helping the city of Nashville learn and grow to love hockey. And I guess I didn't think of it like that. You know, coming here, the Predators have been here forever now. And you just don't think of it from that perspective of people just being so unfamiliar with it, and them like genuinely like helping the city grow into a hockey city and creating, I guess you could say, Smashville, and just this amazing environment. I know that this weekend, at least with this Blackhawks game today, I'm so excited to go to the game. I'm going to head over there after this. I have a feeling it's going to be like a playoff setting. I mean, it's a Saturday afternoon. My friends actually were looking for tickets yesterday, and they said that nosebleed tickets are over $100 already. So I have a feeling just because of the, that rivalry between the Blackhawks and the Predators, that the atmosphere is just going to be incredible today, which is just so great to have Crispy and Terry back together on the radio at 102.5 The Game for Puck Drop. And I mean, it's got to be a little bittersweet for both of them, right? They really grew in their careers together up until, Terry then moved on to Bally Sports. But that's just, it's going to be a pretty awesome weekend for both of them. And then they're going to be on they're going to both be on Bally Sports for the Sunday Easter game.
Which would be pretty special as well. So both audiences, TV audiences and radio audiences, get to hear Pete and Terry, and together they are a hoot. Like Terry himself, like I like when we mention the impact that Terry Crisp has on this market. Like the best example to me is what they did for people that are my age. Like the Predators came to Nashville when I was about 3 or 4 years old. And a lot of my friends that I've met in my lifetime, one of which his name is Kevin Greer, turns 27 today. Happy birthday, Kevin.
Happy birthday.
Played for the Junior Preds. He got to play for the Junior Preds. My friend Griffin, who texts the show a lot, Griffin Sullivan, grew up playing hockey here. They're not growing up and playing hockey here if it's not for the influence of the Nashville Predators, and if it's not for them learning the game through voices like Terry Crisp. Like Terry is the voice of Predators hockey for this, and him and Pete for this entire franchise and this entire franchise's history. And people that were or kids that are my age that grew up watching sports got to watch hockey and got to learn hockey in a way that like our parents didn't, in a way that like our older siblings didn't, because we had those voices teach us the game at a young age, to be able to watch the Predators on a weeknight game and be able to learn the game from them and be able to fall in love with the game of hockey. And for my two friends that I mentioned that got to actually grow up playing it in this market because of the enthusiasm that those guys helped bring to this franchise and create a hockey market. That is, to me, almost more significant than people who have been doing it for a while in markets like Chicago or Buffalo. Like, wow, you can't be a great broadcaster. You master the craft and be that good at it and be somebody that somebody wants to listen to on a game by game, night by night basis. The impact of being able to teach an entire market the way of the NHL and be able to introduce the sport to a generation of kids and people that will grow up with it in a way like this. Like I said, that their parents didn't get to grow up with. Is insanely special. Being able to start that kind of hockey tradition here is really, really cool. And that speaks to the legacy that Terry Crisp and even Pete too, to this market. Like those are the first hockey voices that our generation has gotten to hear. And the first generation that got to grow up with professional hockey in Nashville now gets to see them together tonight or hear them in the radio booth and see them on TV is really, really special. And I know a lot of people, especially that are our age, Michelle, that really, really appreciate the work that those two put in to helping make all of this happen.
Well, and I think something so important to basically what you said of just, your personal experience. If you had friends who they wouldn't have played hockey probably if the city wasn't exposed to it and those two weren't at the forefront of it. And I don't think it'll probably set in for Terry Crisp of what he has done. But I think after this weekend, he's going to see just like who doesn't love Crispy anyways, but he's just going to see like an overwhelming. I just love when people tell their stories or about maybe how they ran into him because when he announced his retirement, we had a lot of callers and texters into Robby and Rexrode just telling us stories, saying, oh, I ran into him at Bridgestone Arena one time and he was like chalking it up with us. And always just so positive and I think also being like just a great person, right? The amount he's won a Stanley Cup, right? Now he's the analyst on the radio and the TV, and Nashville, like he's just embraced Nashville and he wants to bring everybody in to love the game of hockey and be very inclusive, right? I think sometimes people, when they are unfamiliar with just any sport, any topic of anything, you're automatically going to feel a little like, even when I came into this market, I wasn't that familiar with the NHL, right? I had covered basketball, I had covered football, college, and at the pro level. those were kind of my safe spaces. And when I came in and got the job at 102.5 The Game, I was pretty unfamiliar with the Preds, honestly. I had never worked in an NHL city, but having, listening to Pete and Terry, whether it was Pete and Hal on the radio broadcast, or if it was Terry on the TV broadcast, or even just having Terry on weekly with Robby and Joe at the start of the hockey season, he helps you not only learn the game, he helps you feel a part of the game. Mm-hmm. And he almost reminds me of like a grandpa telling his stories. And it's funny when he's mad or he's fired up. Like he was really fired up when he came on Friday after the loss to the Oilers, the 4-0 loss to the Oilers on Thursday. It's almost like these are like he's the coach. Like when he's talking to us, he's fired up and he's like,
that coaching never goes away. It never goes away. You can get on the TV side or the broadcasting side, but that part of you never leaves. And I think Terry's the first to tell you that.
Well, and I'm always the first one, like as the producer, you call them and you put them on hold before they go on air with the guys. And he's like, Michelle, I'm fired up. He's like, I had 16 of my grandkids come in town from Calgary and Edmonton. Okay. Obviously, that's always a big rivalry. And they were like, Crispy, what the heck happened with the Preds? So he's like, Michelle, I've been hearing it. And he's fun. He's loving. He's everybody's grandpa and friend and wants everybody to be a part of the game. And I think we're going to be telling Terry Chris stories forever. And I'm just, honestly, I'm going to the game today, but I'm definitely going to make a point to go back and listen to the broadcast from those two and then watch them also on Bally Sports tomorrow.
See, my favorite thing about Crispy too is like this man has reached like the height of hockey. Like he's won a Stanley Cup as a player. He's won it as a coach. He has gone through all of these experiences that made him live a wonderful hockey life. And there's still not a dumb question you can ask him. Nope. I mean, like you can ask him anything and he will give you the honest answer, the most utmost respect, honest answer. And he's like you said, like he makes you feel like a part of it. Like he really doesn't exclude you from the conversation. Yes. He's awesome. That every experience I've had with him has been fantastic. Like it's gonna be really cool to hear him and Pete together in the booth. And I'm secretly cheering, like obviously we're cheering for the Preds. We like to see the Preds win this game, but I'm cheering for a soccer kick to happen in this game. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I can't explain it to you over the air, but it's one of those if you know kind of things. And we're definitely cheering for a soccer kick to happen at some point in this game. So Pete and Terry can break that down, but that's going to be happening pregame at 10:30. Puck drop is going to be at 11:30. Really excited to get the Crispy weekend kicked off. Maybe with a win over the Blackhawks, but we'll see. We'll break down the matchup. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the hour, it is a very big weekend for the Predators, still fighting for that playoff spot, still jockeying for position. There are multiple paths they can go down, and it all starts today with the Blackhawks. We'll discuss the matchup on the other side as you're listening to Campbell and Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Here at Cromwell Media, the owner of this radio station, we love to brag on our teammates because they are what makes us tick. This month, we're celebrating a bunch of anniversaries. Here's to Jared Stillman and Ian Safar on 102.5 The Game and Promotions Director Cliff McCardle for 7 years of service. Janet Gers in our corporate office is toasting to 5 years, and Judy Riddle in Promotions passes the 1-year mark. We salute you all and thank you for your commitment to making Cromwell Media such a great place to work.
Victory Award-winning New Amsterdam Vodka knows all about it, but in life, it's not always so clear. So New Amsterdam Vodka believes that in life, you've got to find your own wins. You've got to overcome your fears, go all in, even when you've got nothing at all. Find your wins. And when you do, raise that glass of New Amsterdam Vodka in victory. You've earned it. New Amsterdam Spirits Company, Modesto, California.
When it's more than just your lawn, it deserves the Kubota Z400. Get a head-turning offer on class-leading speed, agility, simple deck height adjustments, and a quality cut. When you need comfort and performance, then you need the professional-grade Kubota Z400. Right now, get the Kubota Z400 mower for 0 down, 0% APR for 36 months. Now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
2 locations to serve you, Columbia Kubota or Franklin Kubota. Visit us online at ColumbiaKubota.com or FranklinKubota.com.
Genesis Diamond's spectacular spring extravaganza is coming April 22nd through 24th. 3 incredible days of store-wide savings. Up to 35% off engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, wedding bands, plus special financing. Even Genesis GIA certified diamonds are marked down. Plus, top jewelry designers are flying in with all new amazing designs. If you're popping the question soon or just looking for some new sparkle, you can't miss this annual event. Save up to $10,000 on some items. It's April 22nd through 24th and only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
The playoffs are here, folks, and you can make every game feel like Game 7 on FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Joe Rexrode here to let you know, throughout the playoffs, all customers can place a no-sweat same-game parlay each week. You get up to $20 in free bets if you don't win. FanDuel has so many ways to play. Best of all, when you do win, you get paid faster than a fast break. I'm going to tell you one thing I like here. Look, I feel like we are headed for a Memphis Grizzlies Golden State Warriors second-round matchup. So bet accordingly or ignore me. Just know if you're new to FanDuel, you can download the app, sign up with promo code Joe102, and get in on the action. Again, that's promo code Joe102. And if you already have an account, you're all set to bet. No sweat. Either way, you get up to $20 in free bets if your same-game parlay during the playoffs doesn't win. FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued is now withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $20 per week. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with your family with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
Family Leisure has 40 spas on display from 3 of the biggest brand names: Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select. Prices starting as low as $29.99.
What about above ground pools?
Family Leisure has hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. Guaranteed installation before Memorial Day, starting as low as $29.99. Install.
Wow, that's great.
If you're looking at a spa, I want some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has patio furniture from all the big brand names like Hanneman, Woodard, Jensen, and Apricity. There's more than 100 sets on display to choose from with free delivery.
That sounds good to me, too. And maybe a new Sabre infrared grill to go with it?
We really should look at the wood play gym for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. It's Family Leisure's Vacation at Home sale going on now at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Family and fun come together.
Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. And, of course, coming up next, the pregame coverage, Blackhawks and Predators. Darren McFarland's going to get you ready for this game, starting off with Justin Bradford. You're going to hear the interview with Roman Josi on DDC from yesterday. And then I'll go behind enemy lines with Chicago Tribune's Philip Thompson. Excited for you guys to hear what we discussed, because it's a very big game, Michelle. And one thing you would hear when you listen to that is the Blackhawks are struggling. They're rebuilding. They have pressed the restart button. They already traded Marc-Andre Fleury, the goalie they traded for in the offseason. Seth Jones hasn't had a particularly great season. The Blackhawks have had a lot of drama considering some things that happened off the ice many years ago that have come back and put this franchise in a really bad light, deservingly so. But you look at the matchups that these two teams have played this year, the Preds are 2-0-1 against the Blackhawks. The only loss coming in, a 2-1 overtime loss back on November 7th. And the last time these teams played was on New Year's Day, and the Preds 6-1 the Chicago Blackhawks at Bridgestone Arena. So, Michelle, big game today. We look at these two teams. Obviously, the Blackhawks, it's Cancun on 3. Like they might be a little checked out. They haven't played very well as of late. And the Predators are still pushing for a playoff spot. And we talked about this yesterday on the 6th about what the Predators might do with UC Saros. They play him both games. They play him one of these games. He started in every single game in this homestand this week. And you look at this right now, Michelle, you mentioned you think you play UC Saros in both games. And what are you expecting to see out of this Predators team with the game that we have coming up here in about an hour and 20 minutes?
Well, we were just talking off the air really quick. If we know who's going to be in goal for the Predators, like you said, puck drops in just about an hour. I think that the Predators will play UC Saros for both games this weekend. Like I said, we've got the early game today, and then he's got a little bit more recovery time considering the game tomorrow isn't till 5 o'clock. You said that you don't think they're going to play UC Saros, and there's still a big question mark on whether they will play him today. And like you said, we know that the Blackhawks organization has had a lot of adversity this year, whether it be all of the off the ice stuff that's kind of resurfaced, The team's in a rebuild this year, but the Blackhawks and the Predators are always going to be a rivalry just because of the history that they have together. And them coming into Bridgestone Arena today, I think as far as home ice advantage, I think it's going to be big. I think that Bridgestone is going to be packed today. You know, you've got it's matinee hockey. I'm so excited. I got a friend coming up for the game. Kirby, shout out Kirby. I know she's listening as she's driving up right now. She's Blackhawks fan. I know. I'm like, I can't talk to you till after the game. Just kidding. But I think the Predators are going to come out strong this afternoon. I mean, from John Hines' post-game press conference on Thursday, you could tell he was not happy. I think he said 10 times, we need to get ready for Saturday. We need to get ready for the Blackhawks. And, you know, he definitely made that clear in practice this week that you guys can't have games like that, especially heading into playoff time, right? They still haven't clinched a playoff spot. We've talked about how on Money Puck, their percentage to get into the playoffs is high, but if you keep having performances like Thursday, that percentage is going to dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. I think that this weekend is going to be really crucial. I mean, we talked about it, like you said, on the 6th yesterday. You want to secure a playoff spot sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have that mentalness of just like, okay, it's like a check mark in your head. Not saying that the games moving forward don't matter, but you just at least have that sense of relief that, okay, we got the playoffs. We got the playoff spot clinched. Then our starters, I mean, then you see, right? You get your playoff spot clinched. Then it's like, okay, you don't have to like have so much weight on UC Saros, just mentally, physically, even emotionally, right? We know he's probably going to tell John Hines, I want to play. So that's what any competitor is going to want to do.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, like how you mentioned, like the Preds are shooting to get some margin for error. You know what I'm saying? Like the road ahead's not going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be really hard. They have a very difficult stretch of games. You have the Blackhawks today, and this is your easiest game until the Coyotes at the end of the year, because after today, you have a quick turnaround where a 5:00 puck drop tomorrow against the St. Louis Blues, who have been on fire. And speaking on fire, the Flames literally fire, and the best team in that division you have to play on Tuesday. And then next Saturday, you're playing the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Lightning. Then you play the Wild, who have been pretty damn good all season long. Then you play the Flames.
And then the Flames again.
And then the Avalanche, is probably the best team in the entire sport. And then, of course, you have the worst team in the entire sport that Friday. But, Michelle, this is the easiest game you have for the rest of the season until that Arizona game. And a lot can go wrong from the end of this game to the Arizona game. The other teams don't have a schedule like that. It's going to be a lot easier road for the Stars. The Stars are playing the Sharks today. You're jockeying with the Stars for playoff position. They've got the Sharks today. The Golden Knights have the Oilers, which would be a really tough game for them. You have a game on Vegas. They played one game more than the Predators have and are still 3 points behind. But you can make up a 3-point deficit with having one less game if you're losing the games you're having to play. The Preds are going to have to play some really good teams, and the Golden Knights have games against the Devils, the Sharks, and the Blackhawks.
Yeah, definitely would like that. Definitely would like to be in that position a little bit more.
Yeah, I would like to have their remaining schedule. Like, and the Golden Knights got Mark Stone back. That's a pretty significant re-addition to that team. Like, they're not out of it yet. I know Money Puck had the Predators at 85 to 90% making the playoffs, but
85.6 Adam Vingan tweeted out last night. That's the Money Puck average, which has gone down because I think it was 90 before this Oilers game. It was in the 90s.
And this is a crucial game.
What was we talked about, they had 4 goals in the last, what was it? 6.
I mean, in the last, the Preds have only scored 1 goal in about 7 periods of hockey, if you include that overtime period in which they beat the Sharks. Like, they're going through an offensive funk, and it didn't look very pretty against the Oilers. Like, you got to be able to help out your goalie. It doesn't matter, even if David Riddick's in net, you're not going to be able to help him out if you can't score anything. If you have to make him play a perfect game, it's not going to bode well. Because the Blackhawks, while they haven't been very good, still have 2 really good goal scorers in Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat, who can give you problems too. Even if Saros is in net, you're going to have to be able to give them some cushion here to work with in this game. A very crucial game because, like I said, Michelle, this is the easiest game you have until the finale against Arizona. This is one that, even though their opponent's not as good as the one they're going to be playing tomorrow with the St. Louis Blues, this is one I feel like you have to have. I don't like saying the term must win because, like, pretty much
but it's a must
part
win.
of the year, everybody's must win. Yeah, like, you can't let this opportunity to gain 2 points against a team you absolutely should beat.
And are better than.
And are better than, exactly. And it's not going to help.
Point blank are better.
By a mile. You are better than by a mile. And especially today, the Stars are playing the Sharks. I highly expect the Stars to beat the Sharks. You never know, but like the Stars, I expect them to take care of business against San Jose. And if Vegas beats in Edmonton and the Preds don't win this game, it's going to be a little bit of an uncomfortable ride here for the last 6 games concluding the season. So big game today.
The stat I was going to say before, so the Predators, Robby Stanley tweeted this out after the game the other night. The Predators have scored a combined 4 goals in their past 3 games. So I think what we're going to need to see from them today is you just got to get back on track offensively.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
right?
got to get back on track offensively. And what better chance to do it than against a Blackhawks team who has been giving up a lot of goals, and they're going to be facing Kevin Lankinen in net for the Blackhawks. Big game. Enjoy the broadcast with Crispy and Pete Weber. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Michelle Knezovic. You've been listening to Campbell Knezovic right here on ESPN